I've got a 2018 Toyota Camry here in the garage. Now, it originally came over here because she went to the dealer, I think just for like a simple oil change or something. Of course, the dealer always finds something, right? You could have a brand new car with, 100 miles on it, and you take it in for oil change, and they're gonna find something wrong. That's just how it is. So they found a front left leaking strut, and they quoted her for, of course, both of the front struts, which I'm not going to argue with that. This thing has just over 100,000 miles, and the strut should be replaced as a set. But of course, it being a dealer and making the job much easier for a technician, they replaced a whole loaded strut, so spring and all, right? So you can imagine that gets very expensive when you're at the dealer. She contacted me, we went ahead and got the job done for a quarter of the price that the dealer quoted her. And you can see the strut that is bad. This one was the front left side, and I told the owner, hey, a lot of times the stabilizer links don't end up very well at the end of the day because they could be a pain in the butt to get off sometimes. So I recommended that we replace the stabilizer links while we're in here, and the customer said yes. So that's where we're at. As you can see, all that's done. I had to pull out the spring compressor. It's been a while since I used this thing, but it put in its work today. If you're wondering why I went this route to replace just the strut and not the complete strut assembly, that's because when I went on Rock Auto's website, I couldn't find a loaded strut that was a good name brand. Everything was like cheap Chinese, like knockoff crap. You get what I'm saying? The stuff that lasts 2 months, the stuff that you put on your car so you could sell it, and next guy's problem. But I was able to find a set of KYB struts, just the struts alone, of course, as you can see. So I recommended to the customer that we go this route because this is a nice looking Toyota. The car is in great condition. So I'm like, you really don't want to put these cheap parts. I'd rather do the extra labor and put a good quality part on the car. So it's what we did. And the job is pretty much all complete. Okay, so I got the new parts installed, and I'll show you guys real fast. See, everything looks great. The bellow, everything was in perfect condition. The spring, nothing wrong with it. It's got the bump stop inside of there, and as you can see, everything is put back just how it was. New stabilizer links, of course. And I guess the reason why I'm making this video is know your car. As a customer, know your car. So when this lady first contacted me, I was giving her a quote for parts and labor. I asked her what size engines does it have. She said a V6. All right, as soon as she shows up here, I pop the hood, and I'm like, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right here. This don't look like no V6. And sure enough, it isn't. Okay, this is a 4-cylinder, and thankfully, between the 4-cylinder and the V6 models, the strut and the stabilizer links up front are identical, so she got lucky on that part. But there's always a but, okay? And this one's a big one. So she got a check engine light. She's been having it for like over a year already, she said. She went to an O'Reilly's and they diagnosed it. They said she needs a oxygen sensor. Okay, so she went to a different shop. She said they put it on the scanner and they diagnosed it once again, and they told her to replace the upper and lower oxygen sensors because it's the best thing to do. To me, it sounds like guessing, right? Just throw all the parts at it, right? So she tells me, well, when I went online to buy the parts, they told me the upper and the lower, but they didn't tell me which side. So I went ahead and ordered all 4 oxygen sensors, and I told her, wow, on a 2018, guys, it's currently 2023 right now, okay? So I'm thinking to myself, on a 2018, this thing needs all 4 oxygen sensors? I'm like, highly unlikely. Something's not right here. So I told her, you know what, before we throw these oxygen sensors on, can I have a look at the car? So when it comes over to do the struts, I'll look at the oxygen sensor problem and give you my opinion on it. She said, yeah, let's do that. First of all, my opinion is you bought 4 oxygen sensors for a V6, and we got a 4-cylinder here. So there's problem number 1. That's not good, right? That's just wasted money. I don't know where and when she bought these parts. She may not be able to return them. And if she bought good quality parts, we all know those oxygen sensors are expensive. So that sucks. All right, so I got the classic box scanner, and I'm only using this one because my other scanner, the battery's dead on it. That thing sucks for a battery. You leave it unplugged one day and you're SOL. Okay, so it says here we got 14 codes, but they're all really just kind of repeating themselves. So it's not really 14 different codes. It's only like 1 or 2 codes. Anyway, you can see we have our sensor correlation bank 1 sensor 1 to bank 1 sensor 2. So it's just, that's a correlation issue. It doesn't mean both of the sensors are bad. Stuck rich, bank 1 sensor 2. Slow response, bank 1 sensor 2. Control circuit, positive control circuit, bank 1 sensor 2. Heater control circuit low, bank 1 sensor 2. Yeah, so you guys see what's going on here. It seems like we have a bank 1 sensor 2 issue. So yeah, this doesn't mean that both of the sensors are bad, and certainly not all 4 of them, because it doesn't have 4 sensors. Yeah, but this code right here, the one that says a correlation between bank 1 sensor 1 and bank 1 sensor 2, that doesn't mean that both sensors are bad, or it definitely doesn't mean that the upstream sensor is bad. It just means that there's a difference that the computer is seeing and it doesn't like, and it's flagging a code. And this is why you do not go to O'Reilly's to diagnose the problem, guys. So I would like to see a waveform. So, you know, I'd rather use my other scanner, but this one could still do it. Let's go ahead, start up the car. All right, so the green line is the upstream, and if I hit the accelerator pedal, you can see there is activity, but the downstream is absolutely dead. It isn't doing anything at all. And that's the correlation issue and the circuit codes. So what I want to do is, let's get the car up on ramps, slide underneath the car, and have a look at that downstream sensor. So here goes the downstream sensor, and everything looks good. I don't see broken wires or anything like a rodent's been chewing on it. So we'll check to see if the heater circuit inside the sensor is good. Obviously there's a problem. The car is throwing a check engine light, and we have codes for all this stuff. I was hoping to see some obvious problem, but nothing obvious. All right, so I'm not going to check anything with these sensors, because I just talked to the owner and I told her car is a 4-cylinder, which she was actually really surprised, because she was under the impression that it was the V6 when she bought it. She said they even told her it had a 6-cylinder. I don't know. That's neither here nor there. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. The point is, I asked her, hey, let me see what parts you ordered, because they haven't come in yet. She just ordered them from like carparts.com. And she sent me the screenshots. First of all, they're not OEM equivalent or just OEM sensors. They're not Denso. This car came with Denso sensors, and that's not what she ordered. On top of that, she ordered 4 of them. It was just over $300. So after checking part numbers and everything, I came to the conclusion that these parts are not going to work on her car. So she's going to have to return them the second she gets them. And I've already sourced out both of the sensors, because she wants to go ahead and change the sensors. It's why I decided to not even check the downstream sensor to see if the heater circuit's intact. I'm not going to check that stuff, because the owner's going to throw the parts at it anyway. We just have to get the correct parts. So I went on Rock Auto's website. I was able to get a Denso upstream, but the downstream from Denso is out of stock, and I checked a few different websites and everywhere is out of stock. So I went to a Toyota OEM parts website, and I found the downstream sensor. The thing about it is, at the end of the day, she's still gonna end up paying like $300, but she's gonna pay $300 for just 2 sensors, but they're gonna be original sensors, and they are going to fit and work. So that's where we are. Let me go back underneath the car, plug that sensor back in, take this turd out for a test drive, and that'll be it. It's probably like 3 weeks later. We are back with some oxygen sensors. So this one came from Rock Auto. It's what I recommended to the lady, you know, just based off of what I could find. So it's a Denso unit upstream, good quality part. As far as the downstream, not so easy to find, but I did manage to find it on a website, and it was a OEM Toyota part, as you can see. So if you guys remember, because I barely remember, when I was down there, we noticed that the harness for that downstream sensor was green, and this one matches. All right, so let me go ahead, pop these on. I'm expecting them to come off like butter, because the car is relatively new. It's not rotted away, so I don't think there's really anything to show you guys. And it's late and it's hot, and I'm just trying to get this done. Here goes that upstream sensor, just as I expected. Came off without a fight. And what's funny is the Denso one looks 100% identical. Every single little piece is exactly the same, almost as if Denso is the OEM supplier for Toyota. Go figure, right? Anyway, so let's go ahead, pop in a new one. And here goes the old downstream sensor. Came off just as easy as the upstream. It's so nice working on your vehicle, guys. I just can't tell you. Don't get this often. But as you can see, both of the sensors match up perfectly. Obviously, OEM Toyota part. And before anyone says anything, I know that upstream sensor is a air fuel ratio sensor. Because I know someone's going to say it's not an oxygen sensor, it's an air fuel ratio sensor. I know it is. All right. Don't get your panties in a bunch. All right, so let me go ahead and install this. We'll be all set. All right, so the dirty deed is done. I got the key on, and I did a full report on this thing. It says 10 codes, and they're all pretty much the same exact thing, all related to the oxygen sensors. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this report just for the sake of having this information. That report has been saved. Let's clear DTCs. Okay, so everything is cleared. Let's turn the key off. And we'll start it up. Now, I tried to look for the previous videos when I was first recording on this car. Unfortunately, it's not on my phone anymore because I transferred all the files to the computer. So I'm gonna have to reference those videos later on. But if I remember correctly, it looked like the downstream oxygen sensor wasn't doing anything. Sorry for a time jump, but I was looking at some data. So here we have the upstream and downstream. Now it turns out that the downstream is also a air fuel ratio sensor. I thought it was going to be a standard oxygen sensor. A lot of cars do that, where they put a air fuel ratio sensor in the upstream and then they leave the downstream as a standard oxygen sensor, but not this car. You can see that they're both at 1, which is air fuel ratio sensor. Now if I go ahead and hit the accelerator pedal, you're going to see the upstream reacts to it, but no activity on the downstream. It's staying at a solid 1, which is good. That tells me that the catalytic converter is doing its job, which is what I would expect because this car is like practically brand new, right? But at 1, I'm happy. Seeing that sensor at 1 means it's working. So I'm going to pause the video right here. I ended up reviewing the video that I put on my computer, and we saw that the downstream sensor was reporting 0, right? Nothing, like a dead sensor. To be honest with you guys, after I put the new sensor in, I grabbed the other scanner, the launch, which I'm using now. I went into generic OBD2 mode, looked at the downstream sensor after it was installed, and nothing. 0 volts, just like the old sensor. So now I'm scratching my head, what's going on here? So I decided to leave generic OBD2 mode, and I went into like manufacturer specific OBD2. You guys know what I'm talking about. I'm just kind of lost for words right now. And that's when I see that the downstream sensor is reporting. So this got me guessing or thinking, you know, maybe using a Bosch scanner the first time wasn't the best idea because that one only reads in generic OBD2 mode. And I think that's where I got burned using that scanner. Was it going to change the outcome? Not really, because guys, it's been like over 2 weeks. The owner said the car's been driving great, no check engine light. So I know this car is fixed, but I will admit that I feel like because I didn't get all the information or the correct information and I went down this rabbit hole, I feel like I shot the parts cannon at it. I'm not proud of it, but what's important is that at the end of the day, the car did end up getting fixed and it was the correct parts. I'm just not happy or proud of it, if that makes any sense. Anyway, let's get back to the video. The car is happy. Everything seems to be okay. And if we back out here, this thing had permanent codes before. And if you know anything about permanent codes, you know that they don't delete whenever you clear a check engine light. They have to delete by themselves whenever the PCM sees that everything is fine. So if we go here and read fault codes, you can see no fault codes. The car's been running, I don't know, 5-10 minutes already. No check engine light, nothing. Don't worry, that is not a check engine light, guys. That's a whole different thing. But the car seems to be happy. It's running nice and smooth. It's not flagging a check engine light. The data on that downstream sensor looks good, and it even cleared those permanent codes all by itself. So I'm gonna go ahead and call this one a fix, guys, and this woman can pick up her Toyota tomorrow and she'll be happy. Well, she's got a big old crack here, so that needs to get addressed. But besides that, she'll be happy. That's gonna be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and like always, thanks for watching.